welcome to Hair Chronicles, and today I'm going to be doing some Bantu knots. And while I'm doing these Bantu knots, we're going to be talking about a case that happened in my home state, which is Georgia. So let's just jump straight into it. A 911 call is placed on October 22nd, 2015 at 8:16 a.m. from a concerned woman. She told the 911 operator that the night before she heard gunshots, and she asked if they could send a police officer over to do a welfare check. Once the officer arrived on the scene, he was met by the actual 911 caller. She told the police officer that the night before she heard gunshots, and it really concerned her because it sounded like they were coming from her front yard. So the officer walked up on the house in question, and he asked for backup because he could see that the front door was wide open, but the screen door was shut. Upon the officers arriving, the officer knocked on the door and made his presence known. And he opened the screen door, and the officers followed him in to canvass the house. Once they entered the living room, they could see that a male was laying face down with gunshot wounds. So the officer immediately called for EMS while they canvassed the rest of the house. And upon arriving in the bedroom, they found two females laying face down on the ground as well with gunshot wounds. When the detective from Savannah PD arrived on the scene, she noticed that there were 3 9mm shell casings next to the male victim, and there were 3 9mm shell casings next to the 2 female victims as well. It was determined that the victims were Corey and Kiana Marshall, brother and sister, and Alexis Kitchen. Alexis Kitchen's mother described her as a happy-go-lucky girl. She enjoyed going out to eat, and she also loved kids and senior citizens. She had a job at a senior citizen home once she graduated, and she was excited about it. Corey was named after his uncle who passed away. His aunt described him as very quiet and friendly, and she described Kiana to be a sweetheart and very reliable. And she said that Corey and Kiana had a very close relationship. As the officers were in the middle of conducting the investigation, neighbors, friends, and family of the deceased were starting to surround the streets because they wanted to know, like, what's going on, what's happening, my people stay here, what's really good. Soon after, chaos erupted, leading the police officers to do crowd control. So when people started yelling and screaming over each other, eventually it got physical. A bystander could be heard yelling, "You were at the house? You was at the house last night? Yeah, you. The one with the skirt with the messed up weave. Yeah, you." Another female could be heard saying, "Yeah, I was there, but I left and I went to Yamakra." Once the officers separated everybody, they detained Jamaica Pill and Diamond Butler because the officers had learned that they were there at the residence on the night of the murder. Jamaica and Diamond were then taken to the police station to be interviewed, and they interviewed Jamaica first. Jamaica had told them that her and Diamond were living at the residence for about 2 weeks. And then she had received a phone call from Alexis, and Alexis said that Kiana said, "Y'all need to come get y'all stuff and y'all need to get out before I call the police." Now, the reason why Kiana wanted them out was because they did not pay their portion of the rent. So Jamaica said that Diamond had called a young man by the name of Elo to come and pick them up. Now, all this was happening during the daytime. When Elo came to pick them up, it was another guy in the car with him, but Jamaica said she didn't know who he was. So Diamond and Jamaica left with the 2 guys, and they were called to come back to get the rest of their stuff. During Diamond's interview, she stated that her and Jamaica was renting out rooms at Kiana's place. Diamond said that her and Jamaica had to pay $250 apiece for rent, and they had until November 1st to pay that rent. And Diamond said she called a young man by the name of Dre to come and pick her up, and she said that it was just her, Jamaica, and Dre in the car. During the day leading up to the incident, Kiana, Jamaica, and Diamond got into an argument. So Diamond and Jamaica had company over. They were drinking, playing cards, doing all of that. So Kiana came in, she was like, y'all being too loud. And Kiana was like, y'all trying to play me about this rent money. And Diamond was like, what are you talking about? We're not trying to play you. And she was like, nah, y'all trying to play me. Once the families were notified about what took place the night before, they started searching for Elo and Dre to find out what they know about what happened on the night in question. While the police was searching them, a sergeant was involved in a traffic incident. Once the officer got behind the vehicle in question, the vehicle did not stop. It kept going, and it kept going and kept going until the car actually stopped. And there were 3 people seen jumping out the car and hauling ass. The sergeant chased down one of the individuals, who so happened to be a young man by the name of Dwayne Abney. Witnesses informed the sergeant that there was another male and a female that jumped out of the car, but they both ran in opposite directions. And Dwayne was brought down to the police station to be questioned. He was asked who were the other 2 people that was in the vehicle with him, and he stated that, oh, it was my friend, but he really not my friend. It's just somebody I see in Yamakra, who just so happened to be Elo. The investigator had put the whole police department on notice that Dwayne had mentioned Elo. Soon after they found out this information, they put together a lineup of people that had warrants. A detective who had no knowledge about the case was sent in to present the lineup to Dwayne in hopes that he could identify Elo. And James Hampton, aka Elo, was identified in the lineup by Dwayne. But the police still had to figure out who Dre was. So on day 2 of the investigation, Diamond came into the police station wanting to turn herself in. She showed up barefoot. She seemed like she was in distress, and her dress was torn. And she didn't have no arrest warrant, so the police was like, I'm confused. I'm baffled. I'm confunkled. You ain't got no arrest warrant, so why are you here? So they ended up asking her, what's going on, what happened. So she stated that her, Elo, and one of his homeboys was in the car, and the police car got behind him, and they turned the sirens on. But Elo was like, nah, I'm finna keep going. So she said he kept going, and then he stopped the car, and he was just like, okay, everybody jump out. So they all jumped out, and she said she ran in the opposite direction. She stated that she had a prior incident for auto theft, and she went to court for it, and she thought she had a warrant for that. That's why she ran, and she decided to turn herself in. When the detectives asked her who was driving and who was in the passenger seat, she said that Elo was the one that was driving and Dwayne was in the passenger seat. And she also told the detectives that Elo had a warrant out for his arrest for shooting somebody in the leg, and that's why she mentioned Dre in her first interview. So Dre wasn't even real, y'all. Dre ain't a real person. She just said that because she knew he had warrants and she didn't want to get him in trouble for it. So she lied, y'all. She lied. And she also said Dwayne was with them on the night of the murders. Detectives had already interviewed everybody who was in the car that night except for James. So they was like, we got to go get him. We gotta go find him. So during the ongoing investigation, Kiana and Corey's aunt received a call from her sister and was like, Elo is at Yamacraw Park. We need to pull up, hop out. We need to go talk to him. And she was like, okay, let's pull up on him. Let's pull up on him right now. Once they got to Yamacraw Park, they could see him playing basketball. So they walked up on him and was like, we need to talk to you. He told them that they was trying to fight. Kiana and Alexis was trying to fight with Diamond in Jamaica. And he was like, oh, y'all, that's my girl, so I ain't gonna let them fight them. I ain't gonna let them fight. And he did mention that he had a pistol, but he didn't have it no more because he knew he had 2 warrants out on him. Kiana and Corey's aunts were like, we just trying to figure out what happened because y'all went up in that girl house totally disrespecting her, and she was only trying to help Diamond in Jamaica. So they trying to make sense of it all. And he told them that he knew Corey. So y'all, this is my favorite part. This is my favorite part. So while they were talking to James, one of the aunts, she recorded the whole conversation. Come on now. After the conversation with James, the aunt who recorded the whole thing, she contacted the detective to let her know that he was at Yamacraw Park. So the detective radioed police officers and told them that James was a potential suspect in the homicide and they need to proceed with caution. So the police officers, they gathered up a search warrant and they went to go get him. Pull up, how about? So they went to Yamacraw Park and they arrested James. After James was arrested, they executed the search warrant on his home with the help of the SWAT team. And upon entering the bedroom that was upstairs, they found an eyeglasses case. And in that eyeglasses case, they found 8 live 9mm rounds. And they also found a cell phone. Elo was brought down to the police station to be questioned. And he told the detectives that on the night of the murders, Diamond had called him to come and get her. So him and his homeboy, Dwayne Abney, had jumped in the car and came to get them. Once Elo and Dwayne arrived at Kiana's house, Elo said he went to Kiana and asked her how much money did Jamaica and Diamond owe her. She was like, it's not even about the money. Jamaica and Diamond sat in my own house and they disrespected me, so they gotta go. Elo said Jamaica and Diamond had got some of their stuff and they left and they went to Elo's house. Detectives inquired about a gun, but Elo said he didn't have no gun. But the detectives already knew that was a lie because earlier when Corey and Kiana's aunt was talking to him, and y'all know she was recording, he stated that he had a gun. So he was lying. He was lying. And not to mention, they knew about the 9mm rounds that was found in his house as well. Y'all remember the phone that was found in his house? They had a search warrant for that as well. And on that phone, y'all, on that phone, they found pictures of him with guns, posing. Y'all know how they be posing. They be like, and one of the pictures that were found on his phone was taken an hour before the murders had occurred. Diabolical work. And the gun he was holding in the picture was a high-powered firearm, which believed to be the murder weapon. But they couldn't find the murder weapon, and they also couldn't place him or Dwayne at the crime scene. The detective was informed that an inmate from the county jail had information regarding the investigation. So the detectives pulled him in to be interviewed, and he stated that his cellmate was James Hampton, aka Elo. And he asked James about the murders. And James was like, yeah, I killed all 3 of them. The inmate said James had told him that After they had left the first time, he came back and he knocked on the window to get Corey to come to the door. So when Corey came to the door, James walked in, making it seem like he was coming back to get the rest of the girl's stuff. And then he shot Corey. He shot Corey twice. He said one female tried to run and he shot her. And then he found another female balled up in the corner and then he shot her too. And then on his way out the door, he seen Corey and Corey was crawling to the door and then he shot Corey again. James told the inmate that he did indeed have a 9mm handgun. And the detectives knew that they could trust this inmate's statement because the inmate did not want anything in return for him giving up this information. And then they had a search warrant for the jail cells of Dwayne Abney and James Hampton. The detectives found a letter addressed to Dwayne Abney stating what to do and what to say about this investigation. Crazy work. After the detectives reviewed all of the evidence, Diamond, James, and Dwayne were charged with the murders of Corey, Kiana, and Alexis. Diamond had confessed that James was upset that she was getting kicked out of the house, and she was the one that wanted to shoot up the house, but she sent him to go back to Kiana's house. And the detectives determined that Jamaica had no knowledge of what was going to happen that night. James was sentenced to 3 consecutive life in prison sentences without the possibility of parole plus 35 years. And Dwayne was sentenced to 2 consecutive life in prison sentences with the possibility of parole plus 15 years. And Diamond pled guilty and she testified in court. She received 90 years in prison for aggravated assault and conspiracy to commit aggravated assault. And that's it for today's case, you guys. I haven't even finished my hair, but it's okay. I'm gonna put a picture at the end of this video so you guys can see what it looks like. It doesn't really look too much like the picture that I shared on my shorts, but hey, it's coming out cute anyway. So thank you guys for checking out my video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe as you wish. And until next time, bye.